Namaste. We're not wanting to show up much these days, but the younger ones wanted to do what they wanted to do, and they want to read this, finish this book. But adult eyes, adult conscious eyes, are aware how we perceive ourselves to look. But we know that that's just the ego and so uncomfortable. But this is part and process of our healing. So it's what we have to do, because it's what aligns our body energetically, and therefore it's what aligns our body physically, and therefore it's what releases the physical pain. And we want our physical pain gone. So we're willing to face our emotional and psychological pain. To do that, we've had many, many, many years to navigate understanding our psychological pain and our emotional pain from a younger consciousness perspective. And we'll be able to navigate the emotional pain from a more mature adult consciousness perspective. We were talking about emotional pain, weren't we? Growing it up, clearing it. The emotional consciousness, younger alters growing up. They'll grow up more when we start growing our food, but they will also grow up more once the physical pain in the body goes. But for the physical pain, and that's speak or language, meaning the physical body will start aligning itself more, because this is what we've been doing for years. But we have to learn to be seen and heard and use our voice. As you can see, we're not very comfortable with it. But we're doing what we need to do for us, because we've not found anyone outside of us that fully walks their talk or can be the guide or the teacher or the whatever language, healing facilitator, whatever, to help us. So we've learned from many, many, many of all walks of philosophies and healers and teachers, modalities, and we've put it together to produce our healing package. And quite frankly, we want the physical pain gone. So, yeah, we're doing whatever we need to do to get the physical pain gone. Looks like we've had another bit of a shift there. I wasn't expecting all of this. Part of us is saying we should be expecting all of this by now, but we're just stuck in all these different altered states of consciousness and alternate personalities and different ages, and don't really know what we are until we start speaking out loud or interacting. But we can't interact with any people because we don't have any people to interact with, because that's what we've had to do to keep us safe and others safe. Because if we'd kept anyone in our lives, they couldn't change themselves to accommodate us. Even though in the past we've always accommodated our triggers and changed ourselves to accommodate others. But that's our beautiful gift of the DID. So we're going to read now, because I know that all of this is going to get reflected back over, and there's going to be blog posts written and explaining what's going on and what we're doing, because it incorporates sound healing, it incorporates yoga, it incorporates energetics, it incorporates so much. Too much for us to say to pain, no, they come more day. Too much for our physical brain to handle at the moment because of the physical injuries that we've had and due to our Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, POTS, fibromyalgia, and the stunted generational consciousness growth. And consciousness can't mature and grow up from all the different perspectives and selves and energetic states, which gets very complicated when we use narratives and words, but we'll get there. But putting it simply, it's the rainbow electromagnetic fields, the different threads of the energetic bodies. And the best way we can give an analogy or metaphor for that is if you think of a puppet, if you're using your hands to make the puppet move, you've got strings that go to the puppet. It's kind of just the same with the unseen energies for the body and the toroidal flow of that torus, the electromagnetic field around us, and this most amazing bioorganic computer, and then the way that interacts and entangles quantum string theory with other people's electromagnetic fields and then Mother Gaia's. But we don't just have the one, we have the one that makes up the whole of this most amazing bioorganic computer. But this most amazing bioorganic computer is made up of so many different systems: the digestive system, the respiratory system, the reproductive system, the lymphatic system, the immune system, rah-de-rah. And each system's made up of a cellular community, and each cellular community is made up of different cells, different proteins, gut biomes, bacteria. It goes on. So there's so many toruses within toruses within toruses, because everything that is the energetic pattern of everything, a toroidal flow, from our current understanding, because we feel on such a acute, subatomic, subtle energetic state or way. And we didn't have much energy left You've got to think of it like a camper van. All of our experiences in life are all there for us to be able to have these analogies and these moments. We had a jaw operation too, so there's so much scar tissue in here that's got to be healed. And the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome doesn't create very effective healing, hence why we couldn't go to hospital or have any more surgeries. But yet we needed the fascia, the connective tissue, the matrix of the physical body to be ripped apart because we couldn't do it on our own. And that's why we needed the psych ward experience. And that's why a body that hasn't been able to eat for weeks and lost stone in weight couldn't even drink, but we need to swallow because swallowing is important. Because half of our body's backwards, physically and mentally. And we're part of the future, not just future thinking, but we've got such a unique package of all the rare labels and disorders put together to bring all these missing links and missing pieces from a jigsaw puzzle, to get rid of all the words and all the narratives and feel on such a subatomic level down to nature of our body rather than nature outside and animals. But if we were a bad person, our cat wouldn't stay with us, because cats aren't like dogs. Cats don't stay with you if you abuse them. So even though other people feel like that we've disrespected them and that we've abused them, we haven't. It's just their distorted perception of the situation, and we know that all too well because we have that going on in our world too, but we've faced it and we've questioned it, and we have done for years, and we're not blaming ourselves anymore. We're not playing that subconscious energetic game of patterning that the majority of people seem to play. All subconscious and accidentally. But we're not being that victim, and we're not walking on eggshells anymore around anyone else. But we don't want to hurt anyone else. We don't want to be authoritative or so direct and so honest because of our autism with our language that it hurts people. But there will be times that we hurt people just by being us and being our truth, and we've learned that pattern so well over life as well. I've learned that so much since the seizures at the end of October 2016 that left us regressed like a baby a lot of the time, incapable of using our body. And so much from all the people in our life, and there's been some beautiful people in our life, but even beautiful, good people do bad things. But it's not about the good and the bad. The good and the bad is the duality. It's about polarity and integration and the experience. And when we're stuck in that younger generational, immature, not a great use of language either, but we will come to all the good use of the language because we get triggered by all this language because it doesn't have that positive connotation wording. And that's why people that are perceived more sensitive or highly sensitive are more vulnerable than others. They're the beautiful people. They're the gifts. They're the ones that enable us to see things from another perspective. If we're willing to choose to temporarily put ourselves in their shoes and see how it may feel. And I know this because that's what I've grown up with, and the mirroring of the DID of all these people, which is why it's been so challenging to come out of this. I don't quite know what we mean by all those words. But I know we're here to share our story. And they started it, they've been asked, because lots of people say they're guides and say they're, and it's always implied that it's outside of them, but nothing's outside of us. Everything's always us and the individual humans' interpretation of their experience and their situation through their external and their internal senses. So coming from a child state ego of 4 and empowerment and play, not an adult state ego. And it's the adult state egos that say that everything's external and that say it's their guides telling them to do this, but it's not. It's their younger parts inside of themselves telling them to do it. But they can't admit that to the adult side of them yet, because the collective society and collective consciousness won't allow it. And it will separate more, and separating and dissociating causes harm. But polarity and integration and just one's perception of an experience and the perception of the experience in changing as we question ourselves, as we question others, and as we take a perspective from unconditional love and gratitude and acceptance and forgiveness, non-judgment, compassion. Compassion meaning with passion, living from the heart, creating. There's been an automatic poem written that's going to be read out, and we'll post it up on here later. Mimmy time, mimmy time, mimmy time, mimmy time. The potato pie, slowly, softly, gently, gently, slowly, softly. Wait, Mom. Slowly, softly, gently, slowly. No. Tao bay tay ta pano ba. Tay ta mai. I think we won't sit cross-legged anymore. That opens up the groin, which opens up the emotions. We're cold, but we won't hide away in our dressing gown. We really don't like doing this. the left knee, that left vagus nerve, the left hip, the left collarbone. It's also fragile. But different alternate personalities hold different systems in the body. They hold different networks of the body and different brain networks, and they hold different pain. Just before we read the book, our stomach's so bloated at the moment, but it needs to go into that pregnant bloatedness, but we're not going to go into why. But it's all to do with the Empress and card 3 and being pregnant and fertility, and that Robinson's advert. Kia ora! Mummy, do daddies have boys and girls have mummies have girls? That advert. But as you can see, it comes from different altars, languages and ways of thingies, and we're still working it out, honestly. But when we read the poem reading out that we wrote and created, it's very, well, we say it's very simple, basic, but we always talk ourselves down and we don't have heaps of confidence or self-esteem. But we have heaps of life experience, heaps of knowledge that we've embodied to turn into wisdom. So the setup for that's already, and it's got card number 16, and 16 is the number of rebirth. It's the number of the tower in the tarot, made of 1, beginnings. New beginnings is 0, the Fool. It's interesting to hear us say that. I didn't know that. We've been trying to figure out the difference between beginnings and new beginnings and 1 and Ace and Page. But we've been doing the Gaia TV tarot card meditations, and we haven't done today's yet. But yesterday we did the Lovers, number 6, and the Hierophant, number 5. And the Hierophant, number 5, is the Wizard in the Inner Child tarot cards. And number 6, the Lovers, I think it's Hansel and Gretel, actually. And then, see, we look different again. Like, we always look different to us. I wonder if we always look different to others. Really weird when we used to look in the mirror and like our head would be on back to front or arms would be missing and not even there. But then that's like the Jill Bolt Taylor lady, Stroke of Insight on the TED Talk. Amazing if you want to watch that. And the day before we did 9 and 10, 9 the Hermit, 10 the Wheel of Fortune. God, can we remember what that is in the fairy tale cards? Snowflake! No, that's us. Snow White! Well done. I don't know why I'm saying well done, because I didn't know it. Snow White, the Hermit, number 9. I suppose sleeping, going inwards, isn't it? Dreamtime healing. But dreamtime healing, I suppose, for the majority of people's conceptualizations of that understanding is when you're asleep, or doing astro travel when you're asleep, or lucid dreaming or something when you sleep. But we don't do that. We don't get much sleep. We do dream healing in our waking state. Fuck me. No, don't. No, that's not meant literally. Sorry, the language. Oh. We're learning a lot about the sexual abuse from a young age and the impact that's had on us on words and our understanding, like sensual. We always attach sensual to being sexual, which isn't at all. We're still getting used to that and comfortable with that. What's number 10, the Wheel of Fortune? We don't know right now, and our head's hurting, so we're not going to know. But today, that would be understanding it. The Hierophant bridges heaven and earth. So it's about bringing those higher vibrational frequencies and condensing them and compressing them into matter, the physical frequencies, because the current language of lots of people that we listen to at the moment when they talk about waking up and all this is they talk about lower vibrational frequencies as being bad and unserving, and all the emotions of hatred and anger and shame, which they are. But you have the lower vibrational frequencies from our understanding, from our perspectives of a lot of dissecting and questioning and experiencing, because for us, the experiences and the body, they come first, and then the mind catches up afterwards. And the lower stage frequencies are matter. It's physical, it's hard, it's dense. And you have the matter that looks like it's not alive, where there's still atoms vibrating. They're just vibrating so slowly, and there's a lot of them condensed very smallly. You can think of it as ice, water in ice form. And then when water forms a liquid, the liquid then takes the shape of its vessel, takes the shape of its container. The human body, we're like 70-80% water. The moon affects the tides, makes the seasons. It affects human beings. Just because we don't have the science to prove it yet, or the collective evolved consciousness state to prove it yet, doesn't mean it's not the case. Hence why lunar living by the cycles of the moon, is so influential, and that's what we've been doing since 2017. So the shamanic perspective is the lower vibrational frequencies, because shamanic perspectives, from our understanding, comes from Mother Gaia, comes from the earth, matter, grounding, the physical. And the higher state frequencies, you have spiritual leaders and gurus and people that are meant to be enlightened. And yeah, they are enlightened, but they can still do dark, horrible things because they haven't fully integrated and delved into the deeper aspects of themselves, of the shame and the darkness. And so then it gets even more massively harmful, because you've got all these people following you and acting on your word because they're vulnerable, because they're desperate, because they're searching outside of them for support, for help, for love, for acceptance, for forgiveness. But none of it comes from without. It all comes from within. And no one can ever truly show us that or teach us. They can only pass on their experiences from the most compassionate, authentic, integral place of their being, their understanding, their language, their actions, their words. Because language and communication isn't just words. It's body language. It's energetic language. It's creation and music. It's poetry. It's painting. It's drawing. It's writing. It's creation. It's creating anything, food, buildings, the least spiritual things you might think of. And what's coming to our mind now is boxing. From the heart, because it comes from the love of it. We don't understand boxing. Why does someone want to? We do understand boxing. Why does someone else want to? We don't understand why someone else wants to cause pain on someone else, which is what boxing does. But we do understand from the experiences we've had about boxing our own head in, or hitting our own head against the wall, of why we want to cause pain on ourselves. And it's not because we want to cause pain on ourselves. It's because we want to release that tension and that tightness that's building up and building up in the physical body. But I suppose for others that are more in the emotional body, it builds up and it builds up, and then rather than them projecting their pain inwards, they lash out in anger and hatred. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting for us to read what we've written earlier, because what we write on social media is from the automatic thumb, automatic body language through our thumb, right hand being the past to us. So it's our past communicating through social media, and our Facebook social media is what holds the youngest alternate personalities, and that's what we've learned. That's how they communicate to us older ones. Hence why we're going to be going back and playing detective like we have done our whole life through all our social media, and already are. Because this is unfolding for us. There's going to be the people, because people, one, recognizes stuff in others before the other has recognized it in themselves. But there's also the perspective that one understands stuff in themselves that they can't vocalize or express to others. So there's so many different angles where the concepts of past, future, and present come into play. And we're going to stop there because that gets so complicated as well, because we're bringing in the concept of time then, and how time then only exists in the physical reality in this 3D dimension. Oh. And we're looking forward to spring and growing our food and having our hands in the earth. But we also are accepting, and with all the turmoil, with all the clearing and the releasing of the trauma, all these memories that we don't remember in the conventional way, because the conventional way thinks of memories from up here, and we've just got blackouts and darkness and memory loss because different altars hold the memories, but different altars hold different physical pain. Different altars are different cellular systems in the body, but not just one cellular system. That would be too easy, too simple, because some altars have part of the lung and part of the heart. So the heart and the lung is actually physically in the connective tissue, the fascia, which is the wiring of the electrical magnetic energy that goes through the body. Just like the respiratory system and your veins and arteries are the wiring for the electrochemical energy. God, we just sidetrack, don't we? It's going to be amazing when we do all our drawings and create everything, because we obviously are very talented and gifted at creating, even if it is still from a child's learning, creating expression of communication. I suppose that's what we're talking about, isn't it? Because that's what the poem is. It's speak. Some people speak with words, some people speak through fear, some people speak through pain, some people speak through love, some people speak through music, etc. If anyone is watching this, we haven't turned that down, sorry. Hopefully you can hear us okay. I think you can, because we've got one viewer and you've not disappeared yet. We learned last night that the laptop was too high, and so the so the laptop microphone couldn't hear us. But yeah. Fingers crossed, because when we come out with stuff like this, we like to listen to it back, because we never have any recollection of any of what we say. So yeah, we're doing the Empress and the Emperor today. The Hierophant, number 5, the Wizard, was bridging heaven and earth. Empress and Emperor are the feminine and masculine energies in the physical, the seen. Oh, excuse us, that's a nice release. Oh. The seen world. And then tomorrow, which is our 41st birthday, we had our 40th in the psych ward this time last year. Life does begin at 40. Understand that analogy and metaphor a lot more. There's our phone going, so it must be 12 o'clock, which is complex stability in the physical world. All our different tools to keep us present. We have so many throughout the day. I tell you, two poetry readings, the 108-day challenge story time, meditative story time reading, different alarms on the phone, although we have stopped the sunrise and sunset and moonrise and moonset alarms. Well, we haven't stopped them, we just haven't updated them regularly. But the 12 o'clock and the 12 minutes past 12 are the physical dimension reality complex stability to keep us present. So yeah, we've got so many things throughout the day to get us present rather than past present in our complex post-traumatic state energetics, alternate personalities, CPTSD, dissociative identity disorder, so many different languages and different perspectives. But then we have the visionary and the future present states as well. So it's all about bringing it into the smallest of oscillations, going without the extremes, so that we can be present. And then tomorrow for our birthday, so today after this, we'll do to integrate all of this. So it might be after the poem, actually. I don't know when it will come. We'll probably do some watching. We've got our apples on stewing, which we'll add all our spices into with some pear. So we'll eat some of that with some live bio yogurt to get our even though we don't get hungry, but we know from last year that we need to eat, even though we perceive ourselves as fat at the moment. We know that we need to eat, but that's the bulimic one, and the anorexic one. I get confused with the dyslexic one because of the language. Because apples get rid of the toxins in the body. We've finished up, thank God, all of our onion, garlic, ginger and celery soup, and we won't be eating onion or garlic anymore because that activates and stimulates the mind, and we're attempting to calm the mind down, even though we thought it was good for us because it gets rid of toxins. And it was good for us because it got rid of toxins, but we've been detoxifying ourselves now for a long time. But more so because they fed us medication, even though we didn't want it last year. And then we had to take even more medication, and we were terrified that it would get lost and locked inside completely. But we managed it, configured it out because we're really smart. Even if it's not in the conventional collective understanding of what genius and smart is. What do our younger ones call it? They call it, we're the divine, modern day, divine feminine, child, adult, female genius. And I'm sure you ain't got many of them out there. But there are some. We know we're not alone. And we know that the energies will connect us all. And they'll be doing their own stuff. And they'll get us better than anyone, I'm sure, on some level. Which is why we're doing what we're doing. Because it's people like us and you and me, me's and you's, that are here to help wake the world up. Not an easy job. But we don't wake them up through waking them up. And the story that's coming through mine then is like us pouring water over people's faces when they're asleep and stuff. Yeah. Our Kiwi friends they allowed us to be us, they did. There wasn't any preconceived, well, they didn't grow up with us, I suppose. There wasn't any preconceived assumptions of judgments of who we were. We could just be who we wanted to be. We were called a born-again Kiwi out there. I feel a bit like a Kiwi now with this. I don't know why. I think Kiwis have long beaks, maybe. Is that what they're reminding us of? I don't know what they're doing with all this. I don't like it much, but, they do. They've been our younger alters. Our younger alters do. And it's also not just to do with the younger alters, it's just to do with the energetics. Like from some spiritual philosophies like Rastafarian, you grow really long dreads, which helps the spiritual energies. Or in some Sanskrit Hindu philosophies, you grow really long hair and pile it up on top of your head. But then from other Buddhist monks or other spiritual philosophies, you shave your head for the energetics. And we understand the differences between all of that now as well, because we ask strange questions. A lot of them to do with the body and the physical body and why the physical body's made up, how it's made up. And one of the best ones was like how from the English culture, and maybe not just the English, maybe the Western culture, I don't know, but the future's behind us. No, it's not, is it? The future's in front of us and the past is behind us. Which makes sense in a way, because that's what we've grown up with. But the one that we really love, I'm not sure where it is. It might be Mongolian. It might be a Mongolian perspective. And this is where all the different tribes come into play, because we love tribal stuff. And from that, whatever perspective it is, some tribal perspective that lives very, we want to say acutely, but I don't know if that's the right word, but intensely, intricately off the land and their seasonal culture. And this is where different perspectives come into play, because it's just a different segment of the apple. It's just a different segment of the earth. It's just a different angle or perspective that one is experiencing the energetics from. And for them, the past is in front and the future's behind, which makes sense because the past has been, therefore the past is known and the past is seen. So it's in front because one can see it, but the future is not known, so that's behind us because we can't see what's behind us. And then I've got my little alters in the head going, which are the ones that obviously understand the Western and the English perspective, because we're backwards and we don't remember our past from the English Western perspective because of the DID and all the blackouts and the memory loss. So it makes sense that our past is behind us because we don't see it and we don't understand it. But we do have eyes in the back of our head. Like teachers have eyes in the back of their head and they know what the naughty children are getting on at behind because that's what we've got in us. Oh my God, we're so complicated. I'm starting to understand us more now. It is always the simple things that we've never understood, and we're working our way to simple, because I think other people seem to understand simple. The majority of the collective of other people seem to understand simple a bit better, but simple, even if they understand it, ain't easy. And I think that's something we do have in common with the collective. Even though they may understand simple, simple still ain't easy. We don't understand simple, and it ain't easy. But I know when we do understand simple, it will be easy for us because we've come at such a complex, multi-dimensional, from every body perspective. Every body being your physical body, your mental body, your heart body, your chemical body, which is your sexual body, your emotional body, blah, blah, blah. And then, because we're 41 on Monday tomorrow, but Monday is the day of the week that's ruled by the moon, and the moon is the day of the week that goes inwards. The moon rules Cancer. Cancer is house 4. 4 is when we were sexually abused. Incest, sexual abuse when we were 4, which is house 4, which is all domestication, but we're getting on top of our house better, but it's only bits here and there and it's slow, but that's the best way to do a lifestyle change. 47. And then Cancer, even though it rules house 4 of domestication, sense of belonging, past, future, in our personal natal chart, Cancer rules house 11, and house 11 is ruled by the collective natal chart of Aquarius, which we are a triple Aquarius: our sun, exterior, our moon, interior, and our south node, our past actions. And we're in the age of Aquarius. Yeah, so I don't know, I'm losing track of this, but I know when we watch it back, we'll be taking notes and doing diagrams and putting drawings, and we'll do our research and then the latest up-to-date visuals of how one does stuff, and then we'll be creating all of our own stuff again, which is like ideas from lots of others and then putting it all together to be able to explain our uniqueness through visual format like this, through visual format of painting, of drawing, of diagrams. We've got our next 40 years covered, I tell you. Of being the Toltecs, isn't it? The books on this channel of the art of relationship, the mastery of love, the voice of knowledge, the mastery of self, the 4 agreements, the 5th agreement. Because Toltecs are like, from yoga philosophy, yoga's not an exercise, that's just the 4th limb, asana, posture. You take that away and do all other 7 limbs of yoga, and you're more of a yogi than someone that's the most amazing person at doing all the postures, which we far from are, but we will be. We want to be able to do one-handed pull-ups and one-handed handstands and walking on our hands and stuff. And I didn't believe any of it, but I do now because I understand the energetics and how it works. And we've started watching Dynamo on BBC, The Illusionist, and yeah, that it's just going to take a lot of time and practice and discipline. But hey, we're disciplined anyway, and we've got plenty of time and the rest of it. And we just, we know it's all going to be okay, and we can just play with all this and create now and from this moment onwards. And 14 is moderation, and we've learnt moderation. We don't need our weed to suppress our emotions and to suppress our alters anymore, because before, in one of the jobs we worked at, it was a hospitality job, and there were so many people around, so many different energies, and we just sucked in energy. We didn't mean to, we didn't want to, but we knew people's internal subconscious worlds that they didn't even know. And so we had to take weed because it dumbed us down and it brought us down to everyone else's level when we were more accepted. And whenever we did our tests to ourselves to prove to ourselves that we weren't addicted and that we were using it and it wasn't using us, we'd always get, what are you on? What are you on? But we understand that now due to people that, are ADHD and take medication for it. But if someone isn't ADHD and they take ADHD medication, it does to them, it brings them to the level of what someone is without the medication, if that makes sense. But then, you know, the body gets tired by the age of 30 and it starts giving up if it's not in correct postural alignment. And this is what causes dis-eases in the body. Literally, we do create our illnesses from generational patterns of the genes being expressed through the synapses, but we aren't our genes. 12 past 12. That 12 minutes went really slowly. We must be becoming more present, maybe. I don't know. They say time goes fast when you're having fun, but I wouldn't say we're having fun now, but we are kind of having fun from our distorted perception, because in what we're doing now is getting stuff out, which then facilitates us to be able to not be stuck, because it's shifted the energetics through the vocal communication, vocal blue body, throat chakra. But I suppose you have, in saying that, we're getting confused because you've got the vocal blue body, so communication through words in your mouth, but you've got the heart blue body, you've got the solar plexus blue body, you've got the third eye blue body. So the blue body is communication, the throat chakra, but you have the heart blue body, which is the green blue body through the green, which is your heart. Yeah. If you like any of this stuff, this is going to be all in the course that we're creating. And the first 2 units and the first part of the third unit are all going to be free, because everyone deserves to have this information and not have to pay for it. But then there gets to a point where someone has to say to themselves they are worth it, and that then through their actions of spending money on themselves to overcome the whole deep belief systems of not having enough money financially and not being financially secure, which is one of the fundamental senses of security, your baby finger, your little toe, your root chakra, your red chakra, primitive, primal, tribal, instinctual survival, which isn't like the old-fashioned days of, wow, we're going to get eaten by a tiger, rah! You know, it's about having enough money and being able to survive in the Western world and paying bills and the rest of it. And I know our brain can't cope with it yet, but I know we'll learn how to do trading, forex and other trading, and we'll earn money somehow that will make us rich. Because if you go into the younger ones' altars, you know, they want to eradicate hunger and all kinds of things, and you need a lot of money for that. But I know that the 4 richest people in the world right now could eradicate hunger if they wanted to. But yeah, unfortunately, we were going to say unluckily or shame, but no, both of those aren't healthy words to use for the connotation that sits well in the body. So unfortunately, they're in adult state egos from child state maturity, where power and greed take over rather than empowerment and play. And we're back to front. We're actually very mature from a child perspective. From a child ego, we're very mature in our emotional wisdom and our heart. It's Benjamin Buttons, I tell you. Benjamin Buttons keeps coming to mind. But yeah, for the wildest dreams on the top of the ladder, we need to reach the small rungs of the ladder dreams to get there and to manifest them, which we know we will, because we've already, in hindsight and reflection now, as we get more co-conscious and more clear, because we were dying, we were falling apart. The body didn't want to live no more. The altars didn't want to live no more. The heart didn't want to live no more. But as we have started to heal all that through everything that we do, the rest is going to fall into place. So we'll earn lots of money, because we'll have overcome the deep belief systems of financial belief systems that we've had programmed into us of not having enough and the rest of it. And we've overcome the things of like spiritual people are meant to live simply and not have money, which is a load of bull as well from our perspective. Because the more money one has, and if they've got such a beautiful heart and such a beautiful mind, and they're authentic and integral and transparent and compassionate, the more money one has to give away. And we have it all written down. We've got it's the ShintoSE Pay It Forward scheme. We're going to start a charity. It's all there. We just It's kind of all there in child format at the moment, but before that it was all there in other formats. We've done the bookkeeping and accountancy, we've done the secondary teaching maths degree, secondary teaching specialising in maths degree only the first year, but we only need to do bits. We've done the 2 year twice, so 4 years of a 2-year Iyengar yoga teacher training course. We've done our sound healing teacher training. We've been a therapist. We are a Reiki master. We've just got so much under our belt. We've never fully become qualified in many things because we're not meant to, because we weren't meant to get stuck in the regurgitation academic educational system as it is at the moment. And our dear Aunt Ursula, a spiritual one from the Catholic religion, who's passed over now, and our mum, who passed over when we were 4 from suicide, suspected suicide, but we believe it was. We believe she had some form of, I don't know if it's multiple personality or bipolar or whatever, but she had some form of personality mood disorder in the language that we use at the moment. And she was the shamanic one, the Native American Indian. That's where our name Snowflake comes from. We were given it when we were 2 from the Native American Indians. And if we learn too much, like in the current education system of going into your degree level, then going into a master and then going into a PhD, we get stuck in that when there's so much more out there. And to be the best survivor going is a jack of all trades, master of none. But then to be the best thriver going, it's to be a master of all, because when we become a master of all, or a master of self, but for us a master of self is a master of all, because there's so many of us in here, we realize we know nothing. And the vibration of number 8, which is the Neve Deborah Coleman birth given name, but stepping into the vibration of 11, Zanoni Snowflake Purcell being, and this is another tool of ours to transcend, transform our identity so that we're not who others have known us or perceived us to be, because we aren't. We've hidden all that from everyone because we haven't been capable of expressing it to everyone. But at the same time, we are also who they perceived us to be, but we're so much more. So in changing our name, it changes our name for us, which the legal documentation should be arriving soon any day, but it changes our own personal perception and understanding of us that we're not capable of doing due to the real deep subconscious alters residing in us that we can't access. But when we clear those deep belief systems, and this is epigenetics, Bruce Lipton, when we clear those deep belief systems through this avenue, we'll then be able to access them from another avenue once those blockages aren't in the way. And those blockages aren't in a way because we've come at it from a different angle. And yeah, it's complicated. So Snowflake's the name that the Native American Indians gave us. Purcell is our mother's maiden name. So it's all still part of us. But then Zanoni is completely new. And Zanoni is the name. We were consciously aware we knew a new name. We needed a new name. We wanted a new name. It was our purpose to find a new name. I don't know whatever language to describe it as, but that was the name that came about for us through the book Light on Egypt and all our GCSE artwork. You know, there's so much Egyptian symbology in there and so much other stuff. So there's been a deep connection to Egypt from a young age, I'm understanding. There's also, when we did on our SoundCloud, it's about 20 minutes, half an hour of just clearing trauma through the body using sounding, and it's us doing it, but other people then that listen to it will be clearing trauma through their body. And someone that watched, I think it was on our Shinto Self-Empowerment YouTube channel, someone watched, I think it was an Aries moon transit empowerment shift reading on one of the card readings. And he said about the buzzing and the humming and how it really had an effect on his body. And I know there's someone on this channel that's commented, we've got to get back to both of them actually, that the buzzing really impacted them. And this is to do with sound on vibration and frequency. World Sound Healing Day today. Hence that's what we were starting to say earlier. Maximum output, minimum effort. Maximum output, most ease. We don't have much energy. The energy of the body, the battery of the camper van was pretty depleted. The leisure battery of the camper van was just dead. So if you understand that terminology, but you can fill up the battery of the camper van again and of the body, unlike the belief systems that are in current society at the moment. So with having minimum energy, we need to get the most out of the little energy that we have. Hence why we dance and navigate ourselves with these very powerful, energetic days. On a day that generally we really hate and detest because it's Valentine's Day, and we've even managed to be going out with people and our birthday being the next day. People, just because our birthday's in winter, generally friends have never been able to come to our birthday that much, and that's always been upsetting. And we've managed to go out with people before that haven't even remembered to give us a Valentine's card or a birthday card, and we never get Valentine cards really anyway. We have had the odd Valentine's cards, but they've always been from a friend or a girlfriend or something, not in a romantic way. So it's always been a day we've really not liked. We're building ourselves up to listening to what we created in the psych ward last year as well on World Sound Healing Day. And it's probably not going to be as bad as we expect. It never normally is. And we're probably more receptive to it now. So I think this is all preparation for that too. But what we just put out there on our Shinto Self-Empowerment Facebook page is, and I think it's the title in here actually as well, I can't remember now, is APPY, Unconditional Self-Love and World Sound Healing Day. And so we really like today now because it's a really special day of strong energies to embrace ourselves. And to nurture ourselves and to love ourselves and to forgive ourselves and accept ourselves and bring this balance that we're so wanting into play. Because we know then, even though one's not meant to have an attachment to the outcome, and we won't have an attachment to the outcome eventually, because that's just how the ball rolls and the game works. But at the moment, we do still have a bit of an attachment to the outcome, because it's the attachment to the outcome that's giving us the drive and the motivation to do what we're doing, to unconditionally love ourselves, because we want to attract ourselves to someone that has similar morals and values, but we can't do that unless we have them vibrating to the deepest level of our being inside. 14 being moderation, 41 self-discipline, 14 backwards. Welcoming in Tuesday, where we will do the Fool. And the Fool is new beginnings, like we said earlier. And we'll do the Fool meditation on Gaia, because we'll be starting another round of adventuring, of journeying, which is what when we look back over our messages, it's what we said a couple of days that we sent out a message to everyone before going into the psych ward. So one of us alters has known what's going on all along. Even if whichever ones that are present and aware in the moment haven't, and therefore a lot of the fears come up, but we've had to have all that coming up to have the courage to face it and navigate it. But yeah, there's going to be another big shift of energies. I suppose the current number at the moment for the collective is number 5, because 2021 equals number 5. 22 is the number of intuition, the master number, builder number. 2 + 2 is 4. Perseverance, determination, +1 is 5, which is the Hierophant, the wizard bridging heaven and earth, which is this massive collective shift in consciousness and waking up that's happening at the moment for the people that are able to embrace these energies. And that have the courage to face themselves. So last year was number 4, the collective. And of course, number 4 for us is when we had all the traumas happen. But last year for us was number 3 on our personal numerological number, which is creativity, expansion, expanded creativity, creative expansion. And this year for us, it's 4. So we've also already had the collective energies of 4, giving us that foundation, that structure, that perseverance, that determination, the Emperor, to embrace this year, which is what we're doing. So our personal number is 4 to work with the personal number of 5 for the collective, but then the physical body is changing from 4 logarithm 10 into 4 logarithm 10 plus 1. The autistic ones in the maths, we took maths homework, extra maths homework home from the age of 7. That was what we used to start soothing ourselves. So yeah, I think we're turning into the frequencies of 7 at the moment then, from one perspective, which goes on to the formula of an elliptic curve, a very special elliptic curve, which only has one integer, one x or one a, b, c. When you've got a formula, you have x squared plus b, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, a being b, c being the different integers. So there's one integer, so let's say a squared, on an elliptical curve formula that changes depending on the elliptical curve. And there's a very special elliptical curve to some of the alters, which have been the ones to do with financial security, I think, which relate to the number 7. Craziness. But as they say, one has to go insane in the membrane before they can really reach sanity, because we're getting into fractal geometry and the quantum sciences again. Thank you, Nassim Haramein and the Resonance Science Project. Thank you, Jane 108, and your beautiful art and your mathematics. So yeah, 14 moderation, 41 backward self-discipline, equaling the 5. So we're moving from 4 logarithm 10 and our traumas, the adult 4-year-old, into 5. 5 is the only constant. The only constant is change. Change brings freedom. 5 is between 4 and 6. So it's the mediator between 4, which is the number for Earth, Mother Gaia, the Emperor, physical reality, the 3D dimension from the masculine energies, thinking in the part. 4 gets strengthened and supported by 3, the Empress, the physical reality, feminine energies, thinking in the whole. 5, the Hierophant, the wizard, the bridge between heaven and earth, the mediator, the diplomat. We're getting a lot better with our language, aren't we? It's making us really happy. So we do enjoy this, you see, because it makes us clearer in our understanding. Yeah, so the adult us don't like it. It means us being seen and heard, but the younger ones love it. And we're becoming our own mummy and our own daddy and our own adult and our own everything, our own inner family, to nurture ourselves, to give us unconditional love, because no one else has been able to, because very few people can give themselves unconditional love. And we find that sad. So we're doing what's ever so challenging and leading by example, because walking one's talk and leading by example. Plus, thank you, the Heart Math Institute, who's done all the science and the research to show all of this being true. The heart electromagnetic field is vast and spreads out so widely. And the beautiful World Wide Web that was born into reality when we were born into reality, that connects the world on such an expansive, subtle, virtual, energetic way. Because coming in contact human to human is too much for hypersensitive people. That's why the younger generation are always on their phone and the rest of it, because they can't handle their parents' shit. So parents, if you're fucking saying, sorry language, if you're saying, oh, they're snowflakes, they're too hypersensitive, they need to get a grip, all we can say to you is look in the mirror. And we apply this to ourselves, because all of this we do for ourselves. And this is how we're learning and how we're growing. Anything anyone says or does is their subconscious lower frequencies attempting to get a message to their adult, aware, conscious frequencies. Because only then, when we have these two beautiful vibrations of frequencies from the lower world, the underworld, the subconscious, the earth, to our adult present nowness, isness, awareness, conscious, awake state, so expression of consciousness through awake conscious eyes, ego eyes, because we need the ego eye, but we need the ego eye from a child state innocence and purity of empowerment and play, not power and greed. But it's a message of your subconscious attempting to get your conscious to hear you. And you're not hearing it, you're pushing it away, you're stunting it off, you're hiding it, but yet you'll give other people advice and you'll go be a rescuer to someone else, because the subconscious, along with consciousness, starts providing these situations in the immediate environment or bigger environment, depending, to get a message to you that you need to hear. So if you're creating any type of work, or you're giving any type of advice to anyone, if you're just a simple layman, or if you're some perceived spiritual leader, all that you're saying and doing is you, the deeper parts of yourself, attempting to get a message to you, the adult, aware, conscious parts of yourself. Nothing is they outside of you. It's all your amazing, unique individual interpretation and understanding of yourself and the way that yourself and selves, different archetypal energies in you, your different rainbow electromagnetic fields on the mouth, the wider, bigger threads of those energetic rainbow fields, to your nose, your finer sensory, your mouth, your central nervous system, your nose, your peripheral nervous system, your limbs of action, your hands, your arms, because it's your peripheral nervous system that counterbalances your central nervous system to bring balance to this whole beautiful, most amazing bioorganic computer. We learned that in yoga, because yoga, from the asana posture point of view, makes you strong from your limbs of action, your peripheral nervous system, so that when you get to your deep central nervous system and your deep emotional house, your kundalini energies that resides in the sacrum, if you want to use that spiritual language, but we'll get others for it eventually as well, because we want to bridge the language between spiritual and academic, heaven and earth, whatever, Trevor. It's vast, it's intense, it explodes the body. And we speak from experience, because our body couldn't handle it because of the EDS, because of the hypermobility. But we needed that, because we needed the body to be mercurial and adaptable and to shapeshift like the mind. So that then when we do bring it all together, the experiences that we have, the uniqueness that we have, the authenticity that we have, the integrity that we have, the courage to face our fears that we have, and to let everyone in our life go completely. Because we see and we feel what our mum and what our auntie did, of the bigger collective dream of consciousness, of heaven on earth, heaven in the 3D reality, bringing the higher 5-dimensional frequencies down into the 3D, not us being 3D thinkers going up to the 5D. And we're going to read and then leave, because this is getting long and we're getting tired. But it's all that's needed to come out. And this, compared to the video that we did on our Facebook this time last year, will be a lot more comprehensible. What do they call it? Cohesive between the heart body and the mind body and the rest of it. Mars time for action, time for reading. Which goes to show us this time last time, the distortion and the malfunctions and the glitches in the matrix come into play, because we're starting to speak in a language that isn't present. We were starting to talk about the past, which is easier to talk about because we're used to that. But in the past, we were always stuck in the future, worrying about the future. And we just attempted to talk about the future, but got stuck in the language because we're so present at the moment with the way we talk and communicate. And I think we've been attempting to understand channeling more. And when people channel, they say that they channel and they're channeling something outside of them. But from our experiences and our understanding and the way we get triggered by all that, even from the most beautiful people that have the most beautiful hearts and mean well, I suppose our definition and what we were just saying comes into play of that understanding, is that when one channels, they're just channeling the energy. They're literally using this most amazing bioorganic computer, tubular body of a vessel, to different tubes being different colors, different numbers relating to different chakras, to transfer that energy into the body, to create the most amazing, enlightened, vibratory, buzzing, sound buzzing, light body of the nervous system. So what were we saying? So yeah, this time last year, to what we produced on World Sound Healing Day, our new name of Unconditional Self-Love Day, and our new terminology of Valentine's Day to Unconditional Self-Love Day and World Sound Healing Day. And we're doing sound healing. We may not be creating music. We may not be playing music. We did a bit of buzzing, I think, at the start, maybe. I can't remember. But we're talking, we're producing sound with our words, through our mouth. And then it's going through our head about what about people that are muted and dumb and can't speak? How do they produce sound? They produce sound through movement or through. So we use the Fibonacci sequence to align our body through our sonic sounding like dolphins. But then that goes into the DID, and the people that have DID that think of themselves as a tiger or an animal. And you can do Morse code or sonic sounding of the Fibonacci through body movement or shaking. Because sound's just vibration, light's just vibration. Music is the light we cannot see. Sound, music is the light we cannot hear, see? Sound is the music. Oh my goodness, it's a really, hold on, we're going to do that because it's a really good one, and we posted it on our Facebook story. And we liked it. We loved it, actually. Music is the light we cannot see. I think that's what we said, isn't it? And light is the music we cannot hear. There's a little burp there, so I'm glad we did that because that was a release. So we're now going to go to number 16 because this is the card that we've got up in our little setup for the poetry reading that we're about to do in the moment, which we're very intrigued to see how it hears, how it comes out verbally from the automatic fun writing from the younger alters on social media. And it's number 16, the heart of the moment. And this is thanks to Alana Fairchild, Razuli and Richard Conn from the Journey of Love Oracle cards. 16. The numbers of 16, the Tower, rebirth, 1, beginnings, 6, unconditional love, making up 7, personal growth. Heart of the moment. And I'm going to change you to we in the concept of everyone, not just the concept of us in here, because we're reading the book. We're not speaking about us, but so it includes whoever's watching. Because it says you are entering, so, but we are too. I am, whatever, Trevor. 16, heart of the moment. We are entering a time in our life where past and future are colliding. You don't know. We've always been very aligned to the moment and the now in our unique way. We are entering a time in our life. We're going to put a hand to our lower back. You may want to do the same, or you may be drawn to put it somewhere else, or to use both your hands and create a circuit in your body. You may want to sound and subtly shake yourself too, to take yourself into your body. You may want to subtly shake or vigorously shake. We are blowing up our mouth, as you can see, and we've got our tongue behind our teeth, front upper teeth. Because that's what you do to create the energy flow from the front of your body down the back, up the front, the figure of 8 in the body. You blow up a mouth in one hole, which links the left and the right lung, right and left lung, or we would go to one of the lungs by doing our mouth to the left or our mouth to the right. And then we breathe through the nose however we want to breathe. There's normally a lot of panting, a bit of snorting. And we sound when we go inwards as well. swapping the patterning of our hands, all about changing the patterns in the body, changing the habitual patterns. Combination of sound yoga, maths yoga, maths yoga. Okay, that's a new one. That's a combination of sound yoga, maths yoga. We were going to say mouth yoga, but it's sound, maths, mouth, body. We are entering a time in our life where past and future are colliding. In this present moment, we have a powerful opportunity to decide how we wish to continue in a certain pattern of relating or not. Free will. One doesn't have to. It's everyone's individual choice. This may mean leaving a relationship or starting a new one. But even if we cannot yet make that decision with peace in our heart, we can still partake of the heart of this moment and decide how we shall choose to be. Will we speak? Will we choose to let go of shame and criticism, of judgment and anxiety, of loss and despair, and just be with our own heart now? Will we choose in this moment to trust ourselves? Even if that trust says we have to wait a while longer before we can make a more long-term decision. This is a time when we can alter our future, stepping into relationship with another, with the divine, with ourselves in a new way, from a new perspective. Even the smallest choice for love is a step in the best direction. We have the heart of the divine within us. It's not too hard for us to choose love. Let go of the people who want us to choose jealousy or fear or doubt. Their games are not nearly as fun. Choose love, and who knows, maybe they'll join our party instead. Yes, please. This oracle brings us a message. We are in a transition zone in our life and relationships. It is one moment that will manifest as many opportunities, where one choice will open up many pathways to fulfillment for us. We always have the chance to create our future with our present choices. But at this time, we are in an especially fertile karmic period, having just come out of a cycle of learning and about to enter into a new cycle. This is the time to be willing to take a chance or a risk to be happy within ourselves, no matter what is going on around us. Our life is about to take a karmic turn, and we can feel peace in that knowing. Love provides the opportunity to express the core essence of our very nature. It touches us at a level of feeling beyond the human norm and renders our beings incapable of a feeling with greater depth or wonder. Wonder, 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 wondering, wondering, the wanderer, the wanderer, the adventurer, the vagus nerve, the 10th vagus nerve, left and right, female, masculine, the adventuring, wandering vagus nerve through every organ in the body, the crown chakra. Some people have to come from above down to below, but others have to come from below up to above. But we all meet. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. At the heart. Love provides the opportunity to express the core essence of our very nature. It touches us at a level of feeling beyond the human norm and renders our beings incapable of a feeling with greater depth or wonder. Wonder, wonder. Love is the fabric of life. It is the substance that holds it all together and the magic that opens the unknown. It is the quality that speaks to our soul. That opens our heart. That excites our spirit and allows us, in its presence, to become something greater than ourselves. Something more. Something more than we are alone. We're going to go for another Mimi and then we come back and read our book that we wanted to read. Oh. Toy. That's good. We just did cold water therapy. 131, 31. All the numbers and the alignment. So much nerve pain in the mouth. That's to be expected because the teeth, each tooth relates to an organ, a meridian, one of those rainbow electromagnetic fields. And the younger ones will be like, we were a good girl and washed our hands. I don't know, what have we done with the book? You want to read the book, so you'll have to find it. Well, maybe we're not meant to find it because we don't know where it is here. It's in between the other two. And a bit of colour therapy going on. We've changed the shawls. All of what we're wearing is due to colour therapy, by the way. These colours were put on yesterday to go with the meditation reading, because all of this is colour therapy, sound therapy, crystal therapy. I think we did write down a load of courses that we all wanted to do online, but I think we've just taught ourselves a lot of them. This was years ago in one of our many manifestations. Okay. Well, I'm much going to prefer watching this one back compared to last year's. I suppose we'll have to share this in the sound healing group that we shared last year's in. Not that I know what that one was. So we'll put this in the playlist so you can go back and watch the first one, and we'll get round to time stamping it as well, so you can just go to the book and not have to watch it all. And eventually we'll get round to editing it so that people have got options of all of it. But it's a lot of time there. Jonathan Livingston, Seagull, a story written by Richard Bach, photographed by Russell Munson. Richard Bach with this book does two things. He gives me flight. He makes me young. For both I am deeply grateful. Ray Bradbury. People who make their own rules when they know they're right. People who get a special pleasure out of doing something well, even if only for themselves. People who know there's more to this whole living thing than meets the eye. They'll be with Jonathan all the way. Others may simply escape into a delightful adventure about freedom and flight. This book, quite simply, is unique. And one of us did a bit of a reading from this in the psych ward too. So we're on part 2. So, this is heaven, he thought, and he had to smile to himself. It was hardly respectful to analyse heaven in the very moment that one flies up to enter it. As he came from earth now, above the clouds and in close formation with the two brilliant girls, he saw that his own body was growing as bright as theirs. True, the same young Jonathan Seagull was there that had always lived behind his golden eyes. But the outer form had changed. It felt like a seagull body, but already it flew far better than his old one had ever flown. Why, with half the effort, he thought, I'll get twice the speed, twice the performance of my best days on earth. His feathers glowed brilliant white now, and his wings were smooth and perfect as sheets of polished silver. He began, delightedly, to learn about them, to press power into these new wings. At 250 miles per hour, he felt that he was nearing his level flight maximum speed. At 273, he thought that he was flying as fast as he could fly. And he was ever so faintly disappointed. There was a limit to how much the new body could do, and though it was much faster than his old level flight record, it was still a limit that would take great effort to crack. In heaven, he thought, there should be no limits. The clouds broke apart. His escorts called, "Happy landings, Jonathan," and vanished into thin air. He was flying over a sea toward a jagged shoreline. A very few seagulls were working the updrafts on the cliffs. Away off to the north, at the horizon itself, flew a few others. New sights, new thoughts, new questions. Why so few gulls? Heaven should be flocked with gulls. And why am I so tired all at once? Gulls in heaven are never supposed to be tired or to sleep. Where had he heard that? The memory of his life on Earth was falling away. Earth had been a place where he had learned much, of course, but the details were blurred. Something about fighting for food and being outcast. The dozen gulls by the shoreline came to meet him, none saying a word. He felt only that he was welcome and that this was home. It had been a big day for him, a day whose sunrise he no longer remembered. He turned to land on the beach, beating his wings to stop an inch in the air, then dropping lightly to the sand. The other gulls landed too, but not one of them so much as flapped a feather. They swung into the wind, bright wings outstretched, that somehow they changed the curve of their feathers until they had stopped in the same instant their feet touched the ground. It was beautiful control. But now Jonathan was too tired, just too tired to try it. Standing there on the beach, still, without a word spoken. He was asleep. In the days that followed, Jonathan saw that there was as much to learn about flight in this place as there had been in life behind him. But with a difference. Here were gulls who thought as he thought. For each of them, the most important thing in living was to reach out and touch perfection in that which they most loved to do. And that was to fly. They were magnificent birds, all of them, and they spent hour after hour every day practicing flight, testing advanced aeronautics. For a long time, Jonathan forgot about the world that he had come from, the place where the flock lived with its eyes tightly shut to the joy of flight, using its wings as means to the end of finding and fighting for food. But now and then, just for a moment, he remembered. He remembered it one morning when he was out with his instructor, while they rested on the beach after a session of folded wing snap rolls. "Where is everybody, Sullivan?" he asked silently, quite at home now with the easy telepathy that these gulls used instead of screes and gracks. Why aren't there more of us here? Why? Where I came from, there were. Thousands and thousands of gulls, I know. Sullivan shook his head. "The only answer I can see, Jonathan, is that you are pretty well a 1 in a million bird. Most of us came along ever so slowly. We went from one world into another that was almost exactly like it, forgetting right away where we had come from, not caring where we were headed. Living in the moment. Do you have any idea how many lives we must have gone through before we even got the first idea that there is more to life than eating, or fighting, or power in the flock? 1,000 lives, John, 10,000. And then another 100 lives until we began to learn that there is such a thing as perfection. And another 100 again to get the idea that our purpose for living is to find that perfection and show it forth The same rule holds for us now, of course. We choose our next world through what we learn in this one. Learn nothing, and the next world is the same as this one. All the same limitations and lead weights to overcome. Gargling is another one of those things, fun tools that stimulate the vagus nerve. He stretched his wings and turned to face the wind. But you, John, he said, learned so much at one time that you didn't have to go through 1,000 lives to reach this one. We got confused. We want to go back. He stretched his wings and turned to face the wind. But you, John, he said, learned so much at one time that you didn't have to go through 1,000 lives to reach this one. In a moment, they were airborne again, practicing. The formation point rolls were difficult, for through the inverted half, Jonathan had to think upside down, reversing the curve of his wing and reversing it exactly in harmony with his instructors. Let's try it again, Sullivan said, over and over. Let's try it again. 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 Then, finally, good, and they began practicing outside loops. One evening, the girls that were not night flying stood together on the sand, thinking. Jonathan took all his courage in hand and walked to the elder gull, who, it was said, was soon to be moving beyond this world. Chiang, he said, a little nervously. The old seagull looked at him kindly. Yes, my son. Instead of being enfeebled by age, the elder had been empowered by it. He could outfly any gull in the flock, and he had learned skills that the others were only gradually coming to know. Chiang, this world isn't heaven at all, is it? The elder smiled in the moonlight. You are learning again, Jonathan Seagull, he said. Well, what happens from here? Where are we going? Is there no such place as heaven? No, Jonathan, there is no such place. Heaven is not a place, and it is not a time. Heaven is being perfect. He was silent for a moment. You are a very fast flyer, aren't you? I enjoy speed, Jonathan said, taken aback but proud that the elder had noticed. You will begin to touch heaven, Jonathan, in the moment that you touch perfect speed. And that isn't flying 1,000 miles an hour or 1,000,000 or flying at the speed of light. Because any number is a limit, and perfection doesn't have limits. Perfect speed, my son, is being there. Without warning, Chiang vanished and appeared at the water's edge 50 feet away, all in a flicker of an instant. Then he vanished again and stood in the same millisecond at Jonathan's shoulder. It's kind of fun, he said. Jonathan was dazzled. He forgot to ask about heaven. How do you do that? What does it feel like? How far can you go? You can go to any place and to any time that you wish to go, the elder said. I've gone everywhere and everywhere I can think of. He looked across the sea. It's strange. The girls who scorn perfection for the sake of travel go nowhere slowly. Those who put aside travel for the sake of perfection go anywhere instantly. Remember, Jonathan, heaven isn't a place or a time, because place and time are so very meaningless. Heaven is. Can you teach me to fly like that? Jonathan Seagull trembled to conquer another unknown. Of course, if you wish to learn. I wish. When can we start? We can start now if you'd like. I want to learn to fly like that, Jonathan said, and a strange light glowed in his eyes. Tell me what to do. Chiang spoke slowly and watched the younger girl ever so carefully. To fly as fast as thought, to anywhere that is, he said. You must begin by knowing that you have already arrived. The trick, according to Chiang, was for Jonathan to stop seeing himself as trapped inside a limited body that had a 42-inch wingspan and performance that could be plotted on a chart. The trick was to know that his true nature lived as perfect as an unwritten number, everywhere at once across space and time. Jonathan kept at it fiercely day after day, from before sunrise till past midnight, and for all his effort he moved not a feather width from his spot. Forget about faith, Chiang said it time and again. You didn't need faith to fly, you needed to understand flying. This is just the same. Now try again. Then one day, Jonathan, standing on the shore, closing his eyes, concentrating, all in a flash knew what Chiang had been telling him. Why, that's true. I am perfect. Why, that's true. I am perfect. Unlimited gull. He felt a shock of joy. Good, said Chiang, and there was a victory in his voice. Jonathan opened his eyes. He stood alone with the elder on a totally different seashore. Trees down to the water's edge. Twin yellow suns turning overhead. At last, you've got the idea, Chiang said. But your control needs some work. Jonathan was stunned. Where are we? Utterly impressed with the strange surroundings, the elder brushed the question aside. We're on some planet. Obviously, with a green sky and a double star for a sun. Jonathan made a scree, scree, scree. Jonathan made a scree of delight. The first sound he had made since he had left Earth. It works. Well, of course it works, John, said Chiang. It always works when you know what you're doing. Now, about your control. By the time they returned, it was dark. The other girls looked at Jonathan with awe in their golden eyes, for they had seen him disappear from where he had been rooted for so long. He stood there, congratulations for less than a minute. He stood there congratulations for less than a minute. I'm a newcomer here. I'm just beginning. It is I who must learn from you. I wonder about that, John, said Sullivan, standing near. You have less fear of learning than any girl I've ever seen in 10,000 years. The flock went silent. The flock fell silent, and Jonathan fidgeted in embarrassment. We can start working with time if you wish, Chiang said, till you can fly the past and the future, and then you will be ready to begin the most difficult, the most powerful, the most fun of all. You will be ready to begin to fly up and know the meaning of kindness and of love. A month went by, or something that felt like a month, and Jonathan learned at a tremendous rate. He always had learned quickly from ordinary experience, and now, the special student of the elder himself, he took in new ideas like a streamlined feather computer. A streamlined feathered computer. A feathered bioorganic computer! But then the day came that Chiang vanished. He had been talking quietly with them all, exhorting them never to stop their learning and their practicing and their striving to understand more of the perfect, invisible principle of all life. Then, as he spoke, his feathers went brighter and brighter, and at last turned so brilliant that no gull could look upon him. Jonathan, he said, and these were the last words that he spoke. Keep working on love. When they could see again, Chiang was gone. As the days went past, Jonathan found himself thinking time and again of the earth from which he had come. If he had known there just a tenth, just 100th of what he knew here, how much more life would have meant. He stood on the sand and fell to wondering if there was a gull back there who might be struggling to break out of his limits, to see the meaning of flight beyond a way of travel, to get a breadcrumb from a rowboat. Perhaps there might even have been one made outcast for speaking his truth in the face of the flock. And the more Jonathan practiced his kindness lessons, and the more he worked to know the nature of love, the more he wanted to go back to earth. For in spite of his lonely past, Jonathan SEAGUL was born to be an instructor. And his own way of demonstrating love For in spite of his lonely past, Jonathan SEAGUL was born to be an instructor. And his own way of demonstrating love was to give something of the truth that he had seen to a gull who asked only a chance to see truth for himself. Sullivan, adept now at thought-speed flight and helping the others to learn, was doubtful. John, you were outcast once. Why do you think that any of the girls in your old time would listen to you now? You know the proverb, and it's true. The gull sees farthest who flies highest. Those gulls where you came from are standing on the ground, squawking and fighting among themselves. They're 1,000 miles from heaven, and you say you want to show them heaven from where they stand? John, they can't see their own wingtips. Stay here. Help the new girls here, the ones who are high enough to see what you have to tell them. He was quiet for a moment, and then he said, "What if Chang had gone back to his old worlds? Where would you have been today?" The last point was the telling one, and Sullivan was right. The gull sees farthest who flies highest. Jonathan stayed and worked with the new birds coming in, who were all very bright and quick with their lessons. But the old feeling came back, and he couldn't help but think that there might be 1 or 2 gulls back on Earth who would be able to learn too. How much more would he have known by now if Chang had come to him on the day that he was outcast? "Sully, I must go back," he said at last. "Your students are doing well. They can help you bring the newcomers along." Sullivan sighed, but he did not argue. "I think I'll miss you, Jonathan," was all he said. "Sully, for shame," Jonathan said in reproach. "And don't be foolish. What are we trying to practice every day? If our friendship depends on things like space and time, then when we finally overcome space and time, we've destroyed our own brotherhood. But overcome space, and all we have left is here. Overcome time, and all we have left is now. And in the middle of here and now, don't you think that we might see each other once or twice?" Sullivan Seagull laughed in spite of himself. "You crazy bird," he said kindly. "If anybody can show someone on the ground how to see 1,000 miles, it will be Jonathan Livingston Seagull." He looked at the sand. "Goodbye, John, my friend." "Goodbye, Sully. We'll meet again." And with that, Jonathan held in thought an image of the great gull flocks on the shore of another time, and he knew with practiced ease that he was not bone and feather, but a perfect idea of freedom and flight. Limited by nothing at all. Fletcher Lind Seagull was still quite young, but already he knew that no bird had ever been so harshly treated by any other flock, or with so much injustice. "I don't care what they say," he thought fiercely, and his vision blurred as he flew out toward the far cliffs. "There's so much more to flying than just flapping around from place to place. A mosquito does that. One little barrel roll around the elder gull just for fun, and I'm an outcast. Are they blind? Can't they see? Can't they think of the glory that it will be when we really learn to fly? I don't care what they think. I'll show them what flying is. I'll be pure outlaw, if that's the way they want it, and I'll make them so sorry." The voice came inside his own head, and though it was very gentle, it startled him so much that he faltered and stumbled in the air. "Don't be harsh on them, Fletcher Seagull. In casting you out, the other girls have only hurt themselves. And one day they will know this. And one day they will see what you see. Forgive them and help them to understand." An inch from his right wingtip flew the most brilliant white gull in all the world, gliding effortlessly along, not moving a feather. at what was very nearly Fletcher's top speed. There was a moment of chaos in the young bird. What's going on? Am I mad? Am I dead? What is this? Low and calm, the voice went on within his thought, demanding an answer. Fletcher Lind Seagull, do you want to fly? Yes, I want to fly. Fletcher Lind Seagull, do you want to fly so much that you will forgive the flock and learn and go back to them one day and work to help them know? There was no lying to this magnificent, skillful being, no matter how proud or how hurt a bird was Fletcher Seagull. I do, he said softly. Then, Fletch, that bright creature said to him, and the voice was very kind, let's begin with level flight. We want to do it now. I know, but I think we should begin with level flight and leave it. Okay. Maybe it's that one we've read before and not 3. Maybe, but repetition's good, isn't it? Yeah. We can read the poem. Okay. Namaste.